The first day of all primary school learners going back to class on a full-time basis went relatively well, at least according to some. Most schools were able to welcome their learners back to normal schedule after almost a year of class rotation. However, the Basic Education Department says schools are not forced necessarily to have all their learners back, at least not just yet. An update on this for you now. Bring in Tshegohaco Moagi, who's at Monde Primary School in Katlehong for us this morning. And Tshegohaco, that's where we're expecting the Basic Education Minister to pay some kind of visit, a visit that was actually meant to take place yesterday.
That is correct, Ayanda. Good morning. And yes, the Basic Education Minister is expected to be here at about 7 o'clock this morning just to monitor and see how the situation is here, whether they've brought all their learners back, and if they have, how they are actually able to stick to those COVID-19 protocols. We do know, Ayanda, that a lot of schools have actually said that they might have issues, social distancing issues, and this is one of the, this is something that really cannot be, it cannot go away from, you know, when it comes to COVID-19. However, the Minister of COCTA, Dr. Zuma, saying that they are allowed for primary schools to have a distance of just 1 meter instead of that 1.5 that we have heard about. But the minister is expected here, Ayanda, at about 7 o'clock. But before that, let's get an update as to how the first day of all learners being back in primary school went with the Basic Education spokesperson, Elijah Mhlanga. Elijah, thank you so much for your time. Let us start off with how did it go yesterday, the first day of all learners being back?
Well, morning. It was a learning experience for all of us. What happened yesterday is something that we had not seen since March 2020, when schools were forced to close. We saw learners coming in numbers to different schools, which was something that we were looking forward to because we had been planning for months. Remember, the decision was gazetted in May that learners should be returning at full capacity at primary school level. So yesterday it went relatively well. There were some challenges here and there, but we are happy with what we saw yesterday.
Just maybe tell us some of those challenges that you have heard of from the various provinces.
Well, we were also out on the field monitoring, so we also had first-hand experience of what took place yesterday. There were some challenges when it comes to communication. It seems that parents were so eager to see their children going back to school that even schools which had indicated that they wanted to continue with the rotation approach experienced learners coming through to schools in their numbers, and schools had to accommodate them. But other schools as well had indicated that they were able to accommodate the learners, only to find that some of the physical distancing arrangements had not yet been completed. So it took them some time for them to finalize that in the course of the morning, but they were able to settle down. But we also saw some schools writing letters back to parents yesterday saying, no, we've tried this for a day, we don't think that we are going to do it, so let's please go back to the rotation approach. So, you know, those are some of the things that we believe we'll continue to see at least for the rest of this week as schools begin to experience in practical terms the implications of the returning of learners in full capacity, on full capacity basis at school.
Now, Elijah, what would then happen? I mean, in Gauteng, we know about 57 schools that aren't able to welcome back all their learners, primary schools. What then would happen if that number increases, not just in the province, but within the country, that the number becomes so overwhelming and that schools are just like, this is definitely something that they cannot do?
Well, the first thing that we said was that a school would need to assess if they have the capacity to do what we ask them to do. If they cannot do it, then they shouldn't have proceeded. But, you know, we believe that schools really want to see learners back in school on a full-time basis, all of them at the same time every day, because of the losses that have taken place. So, you know, there will be a discussion, further discussion to say, now that we've tried this, it didn't work, what do we do next? That's why we have suggested to some schools. In fact, yesterday some schools said they'd spoken to churches that are neighboring them to be used as space for learners to learn. I mean, in some of the schools where we visited yesterday, there was a school next door, just like this one, there's a church next door. I mean, so that helps. Maybe they need to open that conversation and say, how can you help us so that we bring some of our learners here so that education can continue somewhat? We hope that that particular trend will continue so that we're able to create more space, because we don't want any learner to be left behind. It's a complex decision and a difficult situation to manage, but we hope that we'll be able to work together with everyone involved to ensure that we get back learning to some form of normalcy.
A difficult situation indeed, with some parents even saying that the department is, trying to kill their children or does not care about their children. How would you respond to such comments from parents?
Well, the concerns are valid, but at the same time, when you look at what is happening on the ground, a lot more parents would like to see their children back in school. Even when you listen to the calls that people are making on radio stations, they say, we are so relieved. Yesterday, our children are giving us good feedback about what they experienced on day one after being at home for so long and not going to school every day. So there is some excitement around that, but those are the children. So our responsibility as the adults is to make sure that we create a safe environment, and that we'll continue to do. We are saying that let's not cast blame on anybody. Let's work together. Let's suggest solutions that can work. If indeed the rotation system is what you will be comfortable with in your own locality, maybe that's what you need to do. The school needs to make that decision and carry on. But what we have said right now, the directions allow for schools that are able to return all learners to do so.
All right, thank you so much, Elijah Mhlanga. He's a spokesperson for the Department of Basic Education, giving us clarity on how the first day went yesterday of all learners being back to the traditional learning. Ayanda?
Tshegohaco, Moagi, thanks very much indeed. Live to us there from Katlehong in Ekurhuleni.